So the last class, this is the transformer we have taken, that is the core type transformer. So on this core type transformer, we have the windings like this, okay, primary winding and secondary winding we put like this, okay. So now we will briefly discuss about the property of this core and how it affects. So this is the magnetic core, the magnetic core. So the property of the magnetic core and how it affects the performance of the transformer and how it changes the remaining things. So about this we will discuss today. Okay. Say for example, if you don't have the magnetic core, so say how it looks if you don't have the magnetic core at all, then it looks like this. This is primary winding, this is secondary winding. So in between these two windings, air is present. So now here air acts as magnetic core. Here air acts as magnetic core, and these kind of transformers we call it as air core transformer. Air core transformer. And I will tell you that we generally use this air core transformers. We generally use the air core transformers for high frequency applications. So whenever you need a transformer, in applications of high frequency such as audio, there is audio frequency applications are there, or some kilohertz, gigahertz. So some high frequency applications are there. So generally in the high frequency applications we will use the air core transformers. So air core transformer, in the sense the core here is the air, so there won't be any kind of magnetic core present. Okay. Okay, what is the difference between this magnetic core and air? Generally the magnetic core, I will tell you, uh, so there are several iron you will use. Okay. uh, Nickel you will use, cobalt you will use. Okay. Or some other kind of alloys also we will use as the magnetic core. Okay. So now recently I will tell you what they are using is that it depends upon application. So in case of power transformers, I will tell power trans. So what are the power transformers? We have seen last class. There are the transformers which generally you will find out in our substations. You know, substations, you will find out the substations are, okay, not substations. The transformers which you will find out in the substation, they are called distribution transformers. Distribution transformers. Okay. Whereas the power transformers you will find out at generating station. Generating stations. Okay. So okay, we will of course we will briefly know later also what is a power transformer, is a distribution transformer, all these things. Okay. Whenever we get the opportunity, we will whenever we need that time we will discuss more about the power transformers and the distribution transformers. But one thing I will tell that the transformers which you will find out in the substation, means because you may be familiar with the substation because you have seen the substations. So the transformers which you will find out in the substations, the transformers which you will find out in the substation, they operate at which frequency? They generally operate at 50 hertz frequency. Okay. So in India it is 50 hertz frequency. So the transformers which you will find out in the substations, they generally operate at 50 hertz frequency. So in those kind of transformers, generally the magnetic core is made up of CRGO steel. It's a particular steel, CRGO steel. I will tell you what is that CRGO here. Cold rolled grain oriented. This is the steel we generally use as the magnetic core in the low frequency transformers. Low frequency transformers, in the sense the transformers which operate generally at 50 hertz or 60 hertz. These kind of transformers, we generally use the CRGO steel as the magnetic core. So what is the reason why you use this is that So generally, it has high permeability, and you will have less losses. Okay, all these things, okay, are advantages. Just remember now that it's a generally CRGO steel we will use in case of the power transformers. Okay, so we will know slowly. One by one, we'll know that how exactly this magnetic core is affecting the performance of the transformer. Okay, so one by one, we'll just go ahead. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. We will discuss slowly about this magnetic core, how this changes and how this affect the performance of the transformer. That we were discussing the topic actually. So one point I will write here. For example, you take air core transformer. Just for example, we will take air core transformer. Uh, One is air core transformer. Air core transformer. So what do you find out in the air core transformers, and what do you find out in the magnetic core transformers? Okay. Just now I told you that air core transformers, in the sense between the windings, the magnetic medium is just air. There is no physical thing will be available. It's just air you will find out. Okay. So so what do you find out? One of the problems are you will find out is that in case of the air core transformer, in case of the air core transformer, magnetizing current, magnetizing current, magnetizing current is more. This is one point I will say. Magnetizing current is more in case of air core transformer. So why magnetizing core is more, magnetizing current is more, I will tell you. First of all, what is magnetizing core? Just I explained in the last class that magnetizing current, okay, for example, you have two windings. Okay, this is a winding, this is a winding. Now, okay, let me assume there is a, of course, it's air core transformer. Just we'll just recall what is the, okay, what is, so, okay, now you see here, this is the primary winding, this is the secondary winding. So you have the supply here, you have supply here, whereas here you have the load. This is the load and this is the transformer. So this red color one is the magnetic core. This is the core. Okay. So what is this magnetizing current here is that last class also I told you that when you connect the supply, some current will flow through the winding. Okay. So when some current is flowing through the winding, this current will produce a magnetic flux, and that magnetic flux will travel through the magnetic core. It will travel through the magnetic core like this. Okay, most of the flux, I will say, not all the flux. Remember, I will tell you why I said like this. Most of the flux will travel through this magnetic core. So when it travels through the magnetic core, last class I have shown you that inside this magnetic core there are magnetic domains are there, and the magnetic domains are in different random directions. Okay, and because of this flux all the moments will come into one direction. So you can say that process as magnetization process. So during this process you require some current, so that that current will produce a flux in the magnetic core. and that flux you call it as magnetic flux, and because of that flux the core becomes magnetized. I will say like this. Okay, so why do you need to magnetize the core? First of all, if you don't magnetize the core, what will happen? If you don't magnetize the core, then this core cannot transfer energy from one side to the other side. If you recall the principle of the transformer, the principle of the transformer is that energy will be transferred from one side to the other side in the magnetic medium. This is the logic, this is the statement you know already. So you need a magnetic medium between the both sides. So what is the meaning of magnetic medium? Magnetic medium in the sense a medium which is magnetized. You can call that as a magnetic medium. So here the magnetic core right now is a magnetic medium. So this magnetic medium should be magnetized. If it is not magnetized, then this magnetic core cannot transfer energy or cannot work as medium between two sides to transfer the energy. So the magnetic core should be essentially magnetized. The core should be essentially magnetized. So I told you last class what is meant by magnetized is that if it is not magnetized, you have seen yourself that in the crystal the domains are randomly placed like this. Okay, so the domain directions are in randomly placed like this. So it is unmagnetized. If it is magnetized, you will find out the crystal will be like this. Okay, the same crystal I will draw here. Okay, so all are in the same direction, maybe from left side to right side or right side to left side or top to bottom, whatever may be the direction, but all the domains will be in the same direction. So that, so you need some flux or you need some current to make the unmagnetized core to become magnetized. So you need some current actually. So why you need some current? Because that current will produce some flux. So that flux is necessary to magnetize the core. So now coming to this now, what is the relationship between current and flux? So how much current I have to give? That's the question. So here I is the magnetizing current. Here I is the magnetizing current. So this magnetizing current will produce a flux phi, and that flux will magnetize the core, which is present between both the sides, between the primary side and the secondary side. So here comes a question that how much current I have to supply so that the core becomes magnetized. How much current I have to supply? And that current you call it as magnetizing current. That current you call it as magnetizing current. So the current required to magnetize the core, which is present between the primary and secondary sides, okay, so is called magnetizing current. So you need how this value will be decided. Who will decide this value? So how do we know that I require more current or require less current? How do we know? It depends upon what? So it depends upon some other factor. One factor is that flux. Okay. So it requires some flux. So to produce that flux, how much current I have to send? Okay. It requires some flux to magnetize. So to produce this flux, how much current I have to require? So then what we have to know is that we need to know the relationship between these two, I and phi. So to know the relationship between these two, we will recall one equation in the magnetic circuits. What is that equation? Is that MMF is equal to flux into reluctance. Now see this now. MMF is equal to flux into reluctance. Okay. So then what is flux from this? I hope you know what is, I hope you know this equation in the previous semesters. So flux is equal to MMF by reluctance. Okay. What is meant by MMF? How do you know? How do you calculate MMF? So the equation for the MMF is number of turns into current flowing into that. Number of turns into current flowing into that. So now you see in the primary side you have some number of turns, say N1. Then the current flowing here is I. So N1 into I. So that one. So product of the number of turns and the current flowing in the turns. So the product that you call it as MMF. So divided by reluctance. Divided by the reluctance. Okay. So if you see here the relationship between current and the reluctance, the current and the flux and all this relationship, if you see, then one important thing you must understand that the flux is inversely proportional to reluctance. This is very important. Or in another words, we can say this thing. Flux is directly proportional to current, okay, and it is inversely proportional to. So say for example, one simple calculation I will take. I will take some two cases. Say reluctance is, see, I will just take some values. I will take one. Reluctance is one, and another case I will take reluctance is equal to 100. We will take two cases. Reluctance is one, reluctance is 100. Now the flux required is 10, 10 Weber. Just example. Whereas the flux required is also 10 Weber. Here also 10 Weber. Okay. So here also 10 Weber. Now assume the number of turns are 100. Here also number of turns are 100. So you see here everything is same except the reluctance is different. Only the reluctance is different in both the cases. Remaining flux required and the number of turns, everything is same. So now question is that what is the value of I required? In this case, what is the value of I required in this case? If you see clearly, here, what you will understand is that use this equation. What is that equation now? Phi is equal to Ni by reluctance. So using that equation, we will bring this equation here. So phi is 10, 10 is equal, number of turns are 100 into I divided by reluctance is 1 in this case. Okay. Whereas in this case, 10 N is 100 into I we need to know divided by reluctance is 100. Okay, so only reluctance is different, everything is same. So what is I value in this case? The I value in this case is 0.1 ampere. What is I value in this case? I value here is that 10 ampere. You see now the difference you see now. I is 0.1 ampere, here I is 10 ampere. So in which case more current you require? That is the logic I'm asking. That in which case you require, everything is same except reluctance is different. So in the case where reluctance is less, you require less current to magnetize the core. Whereas in the case where reluctance is more, you require more current to magnetize the core. So that is the thing which I'm saying now at the end. At the end, the conclusion is that the magnetic circuit, the magnetic circuit with high reluctance, requires high magnetizing current. This is the conclusion you got from this simple example, that whichever the magnetic circuit is having high reluctance, so for that core to magnetize, you require more current. So more reluctance, more magnetizing current you require. So this is the logic we understood from this simple example. Now coming to the first point, what I said, the first point what I said here is that in air core transformer, magnetizing current is more. But what is the conclusion we got here? A magnetic circuit is having high reluctance, requires high magnetizing current. Okay, now we will check. What we will check is that what is the reluctance of air? What is the reluctance of air? Okay, what is the reluctance of magnetic core? We will compare the reluctance of magnetic core and with reluctance of the air. So which case reluctance is more, we will see, because we know very well that which case reluctance is more, in that case you require more magnetizing current. This is the first point I said. Okay, so we will check this. Now. So if you recall the formula for the reluctance, so this formula you might have known. Okay, so I hope you know this relationship, that is, so L by mu A is the formula for reluctance. Okay, just we will just cross check this thing, that I'm sure that it is one, but only for the purpose we'll cross check. Okay, yeah, is it correct? Anyone can say that? Is that the
Correct, sir.
It is correct. So then it's better. Yeah, it's better than I am also sure that. But only thing is that before we go further discussion, because we may get wrong conclusions if we take wrong equation. So I think some of you also are agreeing with this equation. So I think it's correct. So S is equal to L by mu A. This you might have studied. Now you see reluctance. Now L value is the length of the flux path. A is the cross section. Now from this equation we can say S is inversely related to mu. S is inversely related to mu. So what is mu here? Mu is nothing but the permeability. Permeability. Now so I want you to recall the permeability can be written as mu naught into mu r. I hope you know this thing. So I can say this thing now. From this, what is mu naught value? Anyone can answer what is mu naught value? Okay, we don't need to worry about what is value. We will put like this only. Anyone can answer what is mu r for air? What is
One.
one? Yeah, that's correct. So relative permeability for the air is 1. So the permeability here is mu naught only. Okay. Now coming to the case of the magnetic core, here also mu is equal to mu naught into mu r. So mu naught it remains. What is mu r for any magnetic core? For example, if it is iron, you might have solved some problems in the magnetic circuits, that composite magnetic circuits, series connection, parallel connection. These kind of magnetic circuits, I'm sure you might have solved in the previous circuits classes. Okay. In those classes, if you remember, the mu r value generally will be some 1000 or 2000 or 1200. I'm sure that any magnetic core that is made up of iron or alloy or any nickel, cobalt, okay, definitely the mu r will be 1000 or more than 1000 at least. So in this case, you see, in case of the air, mu value is only mu naught, whereas in case of the magnetic core, mu is 1000 mu naught. So in which case mu is more? In case of magnetic core, mu is more. It means in case of air, mu is less. If mu is less, what is the reluctance now? Because the reluctance of mu is inversely related. So coming to the case of the air, mu is less. Mu is less value. Whereas coming to the case of magnetic core, mu is higher. So what about the reluctance if mu is lesser? The S is high. Or I will say this thing, that in this case of air, reluctance is higher. Reluctance is higher. Why the reluctance is higher? Because its mu is less. Its mu is only mu naught. Whereas in case of your magnetic core, its mu is 1000 mu naught. So mu is more here, whereas mu is less here. If mu is less, its reluctance is higher. So in case of the air core, or in case of the air, reluctance is higher. If the reluctance is higher, what we got the conclusion just now? We got the conclusion just now is that if the reluctance is higher, the magnetic circuit with higher reluctance requires high magnetizing current. So that is the conclusion for the first one. That is how we are proving this. We are proving this first point. What is the first point? In case of your air core transformer, magnetizing current required is more in case of air core transformer. Why it is more is that because in case of the air core transformer, reluctance is high. Why the reluctance is high in case of the air core transformer? Because its permeability is less. As its permeability is less, its reluctance is higher. If its reluctance is higher, it requires more magnetizing current to magnetize the medium. Okay, that's the first point. Okay. Now we will go and see what are the other points. Okay, so that okay, so next one is that I will write the next point here. Second point about the core here. The relationship between yeah, I will write like this. The relationship between MMF and flux is linear. This is another point related to your air. Okay, so how do we know that the relationship between MMF and flux is linear? First of all, where do you get this MMF and flux relationship? If you recall, you might have studied this BH curve. I'm sure you might have studied about the BH curve. Okay, you find out H. I will just okay, I will take yeah, this is B and this is H. Okay, so now what is B? B can be written as I'm sure that you know these relationships, okay, because I don't want to derive once again. So B can be written as flux divided by area. Everyone know this thing. whereas H can be written as Ni by L. Okay, so these are the, I'm sure that this relationship you can go through some physics textbooks, there you will understand. Okay, now you see indirectly, where what exactly you're drawing the graph here now, this phi is nothing but the flux. So indirectly on y-axis you have the flux. Indirectly, flux is there on the y-axis. What is Ni? I just now I told you Ni is nothing but the mmf. So your mmf is there on the x-axis, whereas the flux is on the y-axis. So that's what I said, the relationship between mmf and flux. Now what he is saying, in case of the air, the relationship between these two is linear. The relationship between these two is linear. But you know this thing, I'm sure that somewhere you might have studied this thing, that okay, there is a BH loop is there. There is a BH loop is there. Okay. So I will try to draw. Okay. So there is a BH loop is like this. So I'm sure that you know this BH loop. You might have studied this BH loop. Okay. And let me tell you one thing. This BH loop is not, so this BH loop you have drawn for a particular magnetic core. For a particular magnetic core, you might have drawn this. Of course, you complete with another cycle, then next cycle will come like this. So there is a loop has come here. So I will just fill this loop with some color. Okay. Then you will understand this loop. So there comes a loop here like this. Yeah, this is a BH loop. So I'm sure that you might have studied or you might have seen this BH loop. Remember now, this BH loop is only for the magnetic core. It means, for example, if it is air, then you don't get the graph like this. I'm sure. That's what he's saying. What is the graph you will get is that you will get a graph something like this straight line you will get. You will get a straight line like this. That's what he said, that the relationship between mmf and flux is linear. So this is for the case of air. So just linear relationship, just a straight line you will find out like this. Whereas in case of the magnetic core, you find out it's not a straight line, it's a loop. It's a loop like this you will find out. That's the difference between air core transformer and the magnetic core transformer. So in case of the air core, the BH curve or the relationship between, because BH curve is just now we have seen that BH curve is nothing but the relationship between flux and mmf. BH curve is nothing but the relationship between flux and mmf. So here also flux and mmf. So when you draw the graph between flux and mmf for the air, you will get the graph as a straight line. Whereas for the magnetic core in the sense any iron, nickel, cobalt, or any kind of magnetic material which is having high permeability. So if you draw the BH or a relationship between flux and mmf, you will get a loop like this. That's what he said. So in case of the air, you will get a linear relationship. Okay, you will get a linear relationship. So that's what he's saying. Okay, now what is the advantage or disadvantage if you have the linear relationship? One advantage is that now somewhere, I'm sure that somewhere you might have studied what is this loop area. Anyone can answer what is this loop area?
Hysteresis loss, sir.
Yes, correct, it is the hysteresis loss. That's correct. Okay, so it's a hysteresis loss. So it's a power loss. I will say power loss. A power loss. That's correct. So hysteresis loss. So this loop area, when you measure the loop area, so that loop area is nothing but hysteresis loss. It's a power loss in the magnetic core. It's a kind of power loss in the magnetic core. Okay. So this is last class. If you remember the last class I have showed you a magnetic core. That's a video also I have shown. So for that magnetic core also, if you draw the BH graph, then you will get a loop like this. So this loop you call it as BH loop, and that loop area represents hysteresis loss, and it's a power loss. Now coming to the case of air, you don't have any loop. No loop is there. So you don't have any loop. So when you don't have any loop, do you have any hysteresis loss? You don't have any hysteresis loss. So no hysteresis loss. I will say no hysteresis loss. No hysteresis loss in case of air core transformer. So that is the advantage of the air core transformer, that in the air core transformer you don't find out any kind of hysteresis loss. Why you don't find out any kind of, just practically you can see that the relationship between B and H is a straight line. It's a linear relationship. So You don't find out any loop. No loop, no area. So no area, no hysteresis loss, no power loss. Okay. And one more thing you will find out. Okay, I will tell you. Another point I will tell you now. Third point is more leakage flux. That's the third point. So in case of the air core transformer, there will be more leakage flux. Now I will tell you what is leakage flux. Okay. So this is the magnetic core. This is the magnetic core. Now we'll take the windings. Take the winding. Now for the explanation purpose, I will draw only one winding. There is of course another winding is also that I'm not drawing. Okay. So you give some supply here, then some current will flow, then some flux will flow. This is what I said now. Now, if you recall, see here, okay. So I will draw this picture here, this side. Okay. Now the flux will be produced. This is what I said, and the flux will be in this direction. Which direction? The flux will be in this direction. That also we have seen. It depends upon, of course, it depends upon the current direction. In this case, we got the direction as the flux as upward. So here also I will take flux. So these are the flux lines. These are the flux lines. Now, everyone know this thing that the flux lines are always closed lines. They are not open lines. So when they are closed lines, how they close? Okay, let me take, they close like this. I will take. So this is the second flux line. So the second flux line will close like this. Okay. Third flux line, it may close like this. Now there is a flux, first flux line is there. So the flux line, it may close like this. There is a possibility that it may close like this. Why only on the right hand side? There is a possibility that it may go on the right hand side, left side also it may go. So now what do you find out here is that coming to this example, here also I will draw the same thing, that the flux lines, okay. So one, okay, we'll do one thing. Better I will take some other color. So no, red color will not be green color. Okay, so yeah, this green color lines are flux lines. Just I will show you now why I'm drawing like this. Okay, now I'm drawing only 2 or 3 lines only. Please remember, there are so many lines are there. Okay, so many flux lines you will find out. Okay, just for explanation purpose, I'm taking only 2 or 3 lines only. Okay, now what you will observe is that now, just now I told you that these flux lines are closed lines. You don't, it's not like that only 4 lines are there, they are closed lines. So they have to make the closed path. So I will show you some of the closed path. One closed path may be like this. This is one closed path. This one. Now second one also maybe it's a closed path like this. Second one. Third one is also, it may go like this. Okay. Now there is a possibility is that the fourth one, there is a possibility. It's not necessarily only the fourth one or fifth one. What I mean to say is that some very few flux lines, they make a closed path like this also. There is a possibility. It's not like that, it's not possible. There is a possibility like this. So, of course, majority of the flux will take a closed path through the magnetic core. So, majority, I will write majority. Majority flux takes through core. Whereas a small amount of flux, I will say small amount of flux, small amount of flux, small amount of flux takes through I will write here through non-core path. I don't know whether this English is correct or not. Okay, um, just through takes through other than core. I will write, yeah, that's correct. Then this English may be correct. So other than core. So small amount of flux is taking a path other than core. This one, especially this one, this one, this one, this line. Now you see it is taking other than core. So what will happen if it is taking other than core? Then can I say this thing that the flux lines which are taking or which are traveling through the core, these flux lines will induce EMF. There is another winding is also there on the secondary side. So only these flux lines are responsible for the EMF induced in the secondary winding. I can say like this. So only these flux lines, the three flux lines which I have drawn here, these three flux lines are linking the secondary winding also. So I will say this thing that these three flux lines, they are linking both primary winding and secondary winding. Whereas there is one flux line here. This is one, fourth one. I will write here four. So this fourth flux line, it is linking only primary. It is not linking the secondary. Whereas it is taking the closed path through air. It is taking the closed path. So I will say this thing that one thing what I want to say is that only three flux lines, they are linking both windings. I will write like this. So only three flux lines are linking both windings, and only these three flux lines, they actually transfer the energy. Only the, see, remember, I have drawn only four flux lines here. It doesn't mean that there are only four flux lines. There are so many, I can say infinite number of flux lines may be present. Okay, so the number of flux lines may be even large number of flux lines may be present. So out of all these flux lines, okay, majority of the flux lines will link both primary and secondary. But there is a possibility, I have shown you here that just now, there are some flux lines which may take a path other than magnetic core. So those kind of flux lines, they don't link the other windings, they link only one winding. Okay, those kind of flux, you call it as leakage flux. Those kind of, why we are calling it as leakage flux is that this flux is just useless, or we cannot say, yeah, we can say useless. It is not taking part in the work. This flux line is not taking part in the work. What is the work? The work is transferring energy from one side to the other side. So this fourth flux line is not taking part in this work. So as it is not taking part in this work and it is not used to us, we generally call that flux as leakage flux. Whereas this other flux lines, the three flux lines, or the main flux line which is taking part in this one, that flux you call it as main flux. Remember, main flux is there. Okay, so main flux is there, leakage flux is there. So leakage flux is this one. Of course, generally this leakage flux is very less. Okay, in case of the magnetic core, in case of the magnetic core, it is very less. Why it is very less in case of the magnetic core is that in case of the magnetic core, majority of the flux will travel through the core. Why it is taking majority of the flux through the magnetic core? Because magnetic core has high permeability. Just now we have seen the second point. It has high mu. If it has high mu, its reluctance is less, low reluctance. If the low reluctance is, then always, I will write here, flux always takes low reluctance path. Flux always prefer low reluctance path. Just like current, you know, the current always prefer low resistance path. It means something like you have two resistors like this. You have two resistors. This is 1 ohm. This is 1000 ohm. Then some current is flowing here. Then majority current will flow through 1 ohm, not through 1000. So a very small current will flow through the 1000 ohm. Why it is so? Because the nature of current is that it takes majority of the current, it takes through the low resistance path. Very small current it takes through the high resistance path. Similarly, the flux also always prefer low reluctance path. Whichever side the reluctance is less, that side majority flux will travel. Now when you compare the three flux lines, the three flux lines are traveling through the magnetic core, whereas the fourth flux line, it is traveling through the air. It is making the closed path through the air. So as it is making the closed path through the air, the remaining three flux lines are traveling through the magnetic core. Why it is so? Because the magnetic core path is having high permeability. If it is having high permeability, its reluctance is less. So as the reluctance is less in the magnetic core, majority flux will travel through the magnetic core. Very small flux will travel through the air because air has high reluctance. Why the air has high reluctance? Because its permeability is very less. Its permeability is just mu naught, whereas its permeability is at least 1000 mu naught. So that is the reason. So that is the reason that the air has high reluctance. So when the flux has a chance to travel either air or either the magnetic core, then I will say this thing that majority flux will travel through the magnetic core because the magnetic core has low reluctance, and a very small flux will travel through air because the air has high reluctance. So we can say this thing. We can say this thing that if any path has high reluctance, then its leakage flux is more. This is we can take the conclusion here. Any path is having high reluctance. Any path is having high reluctance. Okay, so in those cases there is a chance that leakage flux may be, because here if you take this case, magnetic core case, then the flux has two paths. Either it can go through the magnetic core, or it can go through the air. But what I'm saying is that majority will go through the magnetic core. As majority is going through the magnetic core, that magnetic core flux will link the secondary winding. So that is the advantage. So majority travel through the magnetic core because magnetic core reluctance is less. So as it is traveling through the magnetic core, that flux will link the secondary winding also. It links the secondary winding also. So as it is linking both secondary and primary, we will say that flux as main flux. Whereas one flux line which is traveling only through the air, and so it is taking the closed path through the air. So we are calling that as leakage flux. Okay. Coming to the case of air core transformer. Now it is air core transformer. So as it is air core transformer, there is no magnetic core. As there is no magnetic core, here also I will draw four flux lines. Okay. Here also I will draw four flux lines. Here also I will draw. Just like I have drawn four flux lines in case of the magnetic core, here also I will draw four flux lines. Now, where these four flux lines will take the closed path? Do they need to take through the, now you see here now, once the flux lines have come here, the flux line, either it go right side or it go left side. Both the cases it is air only. There is no magnetic core here. So as it has air both the cases, then there is a possibility that two flux lines will go travel like this. Two flux lines will travel like this. Remaining two, it may travel like this. Remaining two, it may travel because the flux lines, either it takes left side, it is right side, or it takes left side. Whether the flux lines takes left side or right side, both the sides air only present. There is no magnetic force. If both the sides air only present, then I can say this thing that both the side reluctance is more or less same. When both the side reluctance is more or less same, then there is a possibility that the flux may deviate equally or the flux may share equally. So unlike in the previous case, three flux lines are taking right side path, whereas only one flux line is taking left side path. Now in this case, two flux lines are taking on the right side and two flux lines are taking on the left side. The flux lines which are taking right side, they are linking the secondary also, and we are calling that as main flux. Whereas the flux lines which are taking on the left side, which are linking only the primary winding, they are called it as leakage flux. Now you see yourself, you compare both the pictures now. If you compare both the pictures, in case of the magnetic core transformer, the leakage flux is less because only one flux line is flowing. Whereas in case of the air core, more flux lines are flowing in the leakage path. So leakage flux is more. That's what I said. That's what I said. The third point. What is the third point? In case of the air core transformer, leakage flux is more. That's the point. Okay. Okay. Then we have another also we can see. Okay. So yeah, this is the case of your. This is the case of air core transformer. Okay, of course these are the three main points in case of the air core transformers. I hope you know the differences. Okay, so now coming to the case of magnetic core, say for example if the core is magnetic core other than air, just now I told you that what I told you that majority flux will travel like this. Okay, and okay, we'll just Just repeat all these things. First point. Magnetising current is more in case of the air core transformer, whereas the magnetising current is less in case of the transformers in which you have the magnetic core other than air. So second point is that, what is the second point? Second point is that the second point is that in case of the air core, the relationship between the flux and MMF is linear. So as it is linear, there is no loop here. As there is no loop here, there is no hysteresis loss. Whereas coming to the case of magnetic core, there is a hysteresis loop is there, and that loop area will tell you how much power loss is there. So in case of the magnetic core, there is a power loss, whereas in case of the air core, there is no power loss in the core, air core or magnetic core. Okay, that is the another difference. What is the third point we have seen? The third point we have seen is that leakage flux is more in case of the air core transformer, whereas leakage flux is less in case of the magnetic core transformer. Okay, this is these are the three differences I will say. Okay, and some more things also we can tell about. We can explore some more points also from this. Just conclusions of these points. Okay, so what are the conclusions you will find out is that. So we'll just redraw here. I will redraw the BH loop once again. Okay. I'm drawing the BH loop. Okay. So see, in case of air core, you know very well it's a linear. So that I'm not drawing. I will draw now in case of magnetic core, I will draw the BH graph. So I will let here BH. Okay. So recall what is the graph we generally get. First cycle, the first cycle it will start from 0 because we assume that there is no any residual magnetism present. So when there is no residual magnetism present, so we will start the BH loop from this. So first half cycle will be something like this. Okay, and then second half cycle okay. Now third half cycle will be something like this. Now fourth half cycle it will be something like this. So this is one cycle. Now second cycle will start from this point, not from this. Okay, I'm sure that you know this information already. I'm just repeating that by assuming that you know already. So the second cycle will start like this. Yeah, approximately. So then it follows the loop. Then it follows. So it repeats the loop like this. So it will continue forever. It will continue forever. Okay. Now let me fill this. Okay. So this is the BH loop you will get, and the area of this BH loop just now we have seen it's a hysteresis loss. It's a hysteresis loss. So BH loop area is hysteresis loss. You know, per cycle. Why I'm saying per cycle? Because only one cycle it makes one loop. If you have two cycles, then it makes two loops. For example, if the transformer is operating at 50 hertz, say for example, what is meant by 50 hertz? 50 hertz in the sense 50 cycles per second. That's the meaning. 50 cycles per second. So in one cycle, in 1 second, how many cycles you will find out? 50 cycles. Every cycle, one loop is there. So in 1 second, how many cycles you will find out? 50 cycles you will find out. So every cycle, one loop. So 1 second, 1 second, 50 loops you will find out. You will have 50 loops. Of course, all the loops is here only. But one thing I'm saying that in 1 second there will be 50 loops if the frequency is 50 hertz. So every loop there is a hysteresis loss. So 50 loops, then 50 into area in every loop. So you will get total area is 50 into area of one loop. Area of one loop. So 50 areas you will find out. So every area you call as one hysteresis loss. So likewise you can calculate the hysteresis loss. I'm just giving that data to you here. How to calculate the hysteresis loss? Hysteresis loss is nothing but you would first find out the area of this graph. Once you find out the area of this graph, then you see the frequency. If it is 50 hertz frequency, then you multiply the area with 50 times, then you will know the power loss in 1 second. Remember, it is 1 second because in 1 second 50 cycles. So one cycle, one loop. So 50 loops in 1 second. That's it. Likewise. Okay. This we know, and we will call some more things also in this. Okay. What are the things we will call here is that. Okay. So okay. So one problem you will face in the BH loop. Okay. You might have known this thing that in the BH loop, okay. Okay, so let me draw this line once again. The first line. So in this line, I will say this thing that till this point, more or less, till this point, this is linear. You see why I'm saying linear is that approximately it looks like a straight line till this point. Not exactly straight line, but of course just a straight line. But after that point, you see, it is taking a bend here. It becomes non-linear. It's very important. It becomes non-linear after that point. So I will take A, I will take here B. So from this is O. From O to A, the graph looks like a little bit linear. Whereas from A to B, it is non-linear. Okay, beyond B, what is that? Beyond B, you call that as saturation region. Saturation region. So this region, okay, is very dangerous region, this saturation region. So you should not operate in this region. If you try to operate in this region, your magnetic circuit, then the magnetic circuit that you call it as the core is, you call the core is saturated. If you anywhere if you heard this line, the core is saturated, it means you are operating the magnetic core beyond B. If you operate the magnetic core beyond B, then what is the problem you will face is that the core will enter into saturation. If the core enters into saturation, what will happen if the core enters into saturation? Saturation in the sense, you see now, this green color line, it is becoming almost horizontal line. It is becoming almost horizontal line. What is meant by horizontal line? After beyond B, it is becoming almost horizontal line. So horizontal line in the sense, you see what is meant by horizontal line? Okay, something I will draw here, something horizontal line. What is horizontal line? This is H, this is B. So horizontal line in the sense, always remember, even though you increase H as much as, the B will not increase that much. What is the property of horizontal line? I will draw a true horizontal line. This is a true horizontal line. So what is meant by this true horizontal line? It is B, it is H. It means even though you increase H value from left side to right side, the B value will not increase vertically. You see here, the B value will not increase vertically. The B value constant. The B value is constant. So here also same kind of thing you will see here. Beyond B, it is a saturation region. So in that region, what do you find out is that, the B value is almost constant. Even though you increase the value of H, B value is constant. So if B value is constant, even though the value of H is increasing, then what will happen is that the windings which are present, okay, so at least you understand this, that saturation region is there beyond B. And what is there in the saturation region? In the saturation region, even though you increase the value of H, B is almost constant. B is almost constant. So if B is almost constant, then what is the problem you will face is that, one problem you will face. I will just recall what is B. I said B is, you can write in terms of phi. B you can write in terms of phi, whereas H you can write in terms of MMF. MMF is nothing but N into I. So I can say this thing that it is the relationship between I and phi, because see H you can write it as Ni by L, whereas B you can write it as phi by A. So on y axis you have phi, on x axis you have I. So I can say this thing that the BH graph is nothing but the relationship between flux and current. What is the flux? What is the current here? Flux is the magnetic flux, I is the magnetizing current. So the BH graph, in another words, we can say this thing that it is the relationship between this magnetizing current and also the flux. Okay. Now if you see B is nothing but flux, H is nothing but I. If the graph is horizontal, I want to increase phi value. So then how much current I have to increase? Then we'll do one thing, that what is the slope here? Because the slope of the horizontal line is 0 or approximately 0, because you see here in the saturation region, it is not exactly horizontal, but it is near horizontal. So if it is near horizontal, then what is the slope of the horizontal one? Actually, what is the slope of the horizontal line? The slope of horizontal line is 0, you know very well. But if the slope of the horizontal line is 0, and if it is not exactly horizontal but it is near horizontal, then the slope will be approximately some 0.01 or maybe 0.0001, but not exactly 0, because it is not exactly horizontal. So slope is a very small value. I want to say is that slope is a very small value. Slope is very small value in the saturation region. If the slope is very small in the saturation region, what does that mean? Okay, how do you find out the slope? Slope is always y coordinate divided by x coordinate. So slope we got 0.01, 0.01. That's a small value because it is near horizontal. So slope is very small. But how do you write a slope? How do you write slope mathematically? You can write the slope mathematically by dividing the y coordinate with x coordinate. So what is the y coordinate here? Phi is the y coordinate. What is the x coordinate? I is the x coordinate. So I will write here d phi by di. Change in flux divided by change in current. So the change in flux divided by change in current. Now, if you see this one, I want to make d phi as 3. If I want to make d phi as 3, how much should be di value? If this is the question. Because the slope is 0.01, because the graph is saturation, because the graph is horizontal. Why it is horizontal? Because you have seen in the BH loop that beyond B, that is in the saturation region, the graph is nearly horizontal. If the graph is nearly horizontal, its slope is very, very small. I am taking a value here, 0.01 is the slope. So slope is equal to y coordinate by x coordinate. What is the y coordinate here? D phi is the y coordinate. What is the x coordinate? Di is the x coordinate. Now, what is the question is that now I want to change the d phi value to 3. So if I want to change d phi 3, what is the value of di? What is the value? Use this mathematics, then di is equal d phi di is equal d phi by 3. D phi by 0.01. Use this equation. Then what is d phi? D phi is 3. So 3 by 0.01. How much it is 300. So di will be 300. So if I want to change a small value of pi, I have to change a large value of I. So how much is the current now? Current is flowing 300 ampere. So it means the current in the winding, there is a winding here, primary winding, secondary winding is there. So the current in the winding will be 300 ampere. So if the 300 ampere current is flowing in the winding, can the winding sustain? No, the winding cannot sustain. The winding will get burned. Immediately the winding will get damaged and a fire will occur and this winding will get burned. Completely it will burn. So when they burn, so why it is burned? What is the reason why it is burning here? Because you are operating the transformer or you are operating the magnetic core in the saturation region. You are operating in the saturation region. So when you operate in the saturation region, then if you try to increase the flux even a small value, then it will draw very large current. How much large current? You have seen one particular example, one simple example you have seen here. With that simple example, if I want to change the value of d phi to a small value, 3 is a small value. If I want to change to a small value, then how much current it will draw? It will draw 300 ampere. See what is happening here. Where is the 3? Where is 300? There is 100 times difference. So if you want to change a small value of phi in the saturation region, then there is a large value of current it will draw. So if this large value of current the transformer is drawing, then the transformer winding has to carry 300 ampere. Then the winding cannot sustain this much value of current. So the winding will get burned. It will get damaged. So it is always preferable not to operate the transformer or the magnetic core in the saturation region. If you try to operate in the saturation region, what is the problem you will face immediately is that it will draw very large current. So that large current will damage the transformer. So that is the problem you will face in the saturation region. Okay. Why I'm saying is that, where do you find out this saturation region? Of course, you find out the saturation region only in case of the magnetic core. Now, coming to the case of air core transformer, do you find out in case of the air core transformer, do you find out the saturation region? No, you don't find out any saturation region in case of the air core transformer, because in case of the air core transformer, the BH graph is a linear. So it always goes like this. So there is no saturation. There is no saturation. There is no saturation problem. No saturation problem in air core transformer. Air core. So no saturation problem in air core. Whereas there is a saturation problem in the magnetic core. So this is second thing. One is it has a hysteresis loop. Magnetic core has a hysteresis loop. Whereas air core, it does not have any hysteresis loop. So there is no power loss in case of the air core, but there is a power loss in case of the magnetic core. And second problem is that there is a saturation problem in case of the magnetic core, whereas there is no saturation problem in case of the air core. Okay, this is the explanation. And some more differences also we will see. Okay, that also we have seen already, that the other than these points, I am discussing some more points. Okay, so some more points also. One thing is leakage flux. Okay. Okay, now there is another one. There is another problem you will face. That problem I will write here. Now see, in case of the air core, the medium here is air. In case of the air core, the medium here is air. Now question is that, okay, I will ask the question after we take the another case. That is the case of okay. That is the case of magnetic core. Coming to the case
What,
of the magnetic core, okay. So now you see, coming to the case of the magnetic core. So here it is made up of some material, maybe iron or steel or maybe nickel or any other metal other than air. So now the question is that, which is a good conductor of electricity? Which is good conductor of electricity? Is air or magnetic core? Which is a good conductor of electricity? See, the question is that, one case air is the magnetic medium, the other case magnetic core is the medium. So in both the cases, in both the mediums, air is one medium, magnetic core is another medium. Magnetic core is generally made up of CRGO steel, I told you, or any other ferromagnetic material. Okay. So when you compare air with ferromagnetic material, which is a good conductor of electricity, which can pass more electric current, obviously the magnetic core is a good conductor of electricity. It allows more. I will say this thing. Its resistance is less. Its resistance is less. Even you take iron, even take, how, why I'm saying less is that because air has more resistance. I am saying which resistance here? Electrical resistance, important. It is electric. So comparing the electrical resistance, air is having more resistance compared with the magnetic core. Magnetic core is made up of any material you take, iron, nickel, cobalt, any ferromagnetic material if you take. When you compare the resistance of that ferromagnetic material with air, then ferromagnetic material has less resistance compared with the air. Now, with this, there is a problem comes. What is that problem comes is that you will have another loss called as eddy current loss. Eddy current loss. This is another problem you will face in case of the magnetic core. Whereas in case of the air core, this eddy current loss will not be present. Why? Because air has very high resistance, whereas the magnetic core has lesser resistance than air. As it has lesser resistance, you have another power loss. That power loss you call it as eddy current loss. But I will tell you little bit detail about this eddy current. What is this eddy current? Is that, now you see here, I will draw the cross section of the magnetic core. Okay, this is the cross section of the magnetic core. Now I said this is a this resistance. This is having less resistance. Now, when you recall the operation of the transformer, okay, you will connect a source here to the primary winding. Then there is a load is there. So when you connect a source to the primary winding, some current will flow, and because of this current, some flux will travel in the magnetic core, and that flux is a variable flux. Why it is a variable flux? Because the voltage you are supplying here is a sinusoidal supply. So voltage is sinusoidal, current is also sinusoidal, so flux is also sinusoidal. So everything is sinusoidal. So when the sinusoidal flux is going here somewhere, I will something like this. I will say that I will take this color. Okay, I will take this color. So okay, yeah, yeah, I will fill. Yeah. Now you see this gray color. I will assume that it's a magnetic field. This gray color. Okay. Okay. This is a magnetic field. So in this magnetic field, it means this core in this magnetic field. If I have a conductor, if I have a conductor, this is a conductor, and I have another conductor. So many conductors are present here. So many conductors are present here. Similarly, this magnetic core is also present in the magnetic flux, because the magnetic flux, where it is flowing from primary to secondary. It is flowing primary to secondary through which one? Through the magnetic core. So in the magnetic core, there is a flux is there. In the magnetic core, there is a flux is there. So I will say this thing that in this magnetic core also flux is flowing. In this, here it is flowing now. So as the flux is flowing, and this flux is a variable flux. I just now told you it is a variable flux. As it is a variable flux, and one more thing, just now we have seen that this core resistance is less. This core, see, not lesser than the copper conductor, but it is lesser than the air. At least it is lesser than the air. So if it is lesser than the air, in the sense, at least it has some conductivity. It has some conductivity. It's not like that it's an insulator. We cannot say it's an insulator. It is a conductor also, but it is a bad conductor, we can say. But even though it is a bad or a good conductor, it's a conductor. That's the thing you must concentrate here. Whereas coming to the case of air, we can simply say that air is insulator, because it has very high resistance. So we can consider the air as insulator. Whereas the magnetic core, we cannot consider the magnetic core as insulator. We have to consider this as a conductor. But of course, it's a bad conductor. But we cannot say it's an insulator. It's a bad conductor. So even though it is a bad or good, it's a conductor. So if it is a conductor, and in the conductor a flux is flowing, in the conductor a flux is flowing, which is a variable flux, then what Faraday says to us? Faraday says to us that when a flux is linking a conductor, even though it is a good or bad conductor, if it is linking a conductor, an EMF will be induced in the conductor. That's what he said. So what we studied when I explained about the principle of operation of the transformer, we studied one thing. What we studied? We studied that there is a EMF induced in the primary, there is a EMF induced in the secondary. These two we studied. But there we neglected, there is EMF induced in the core also. There is small EMF induced in the core also. There is a small EMF induced in the core also. Why there is a small EMF induced in the core? Because core is also a conductor of electricity. Just now we have seen that its resistance is lesser than the air. So even though its resistance is higher, but it is lesser than the air. So we will consider this also as a conductor, but not as good as a copper or as good as aluminum, but it's a bad conductor of electricity, but still it is a conductor. So as it is a conductor, so Faraday says that if the flux is linking any conductor, any number of conductor, if the variable flux is linking in the atmosphere, and in the atmosphere you have so many number of conductors, whether you have good conductors, whether you have bad conductors, in every conductor EMF will be induced. That's what Faraday says. That's what Faraday says, is that every conductor EMF will be induced. So when I explain the operation of the transformer, when I explain the principle of operation of the transformer, I have explained only two EMFs. One EMF in the primary winding, second EMF in the secondary winding. But I did not say anything regarding the EMF in the magnetic core. Now I am bringing this EMF in the magnetic core, because EMF magnetic core is also a conductor. Of course, it's a bad conductor. Now what will happen now? See here now. I will draw the structure here once again. Okay. Okay. So I will bring this conductor once again. This orange color is so this orange color is magnetic core. Always remember now. So what I said just now I said that even in the magnetic core also EMF induced. That what I said. So EMF is induced. What does that mean? It means one point is having higher potential, the other. Just now you see here in the winding, EMF is induced in the sense. What does that mean? One point you have higher potential, the other point you have lower potential. Okay. Of course, which one is having higher potential, which one is having lower potential? Once again, it depends upon the Lenz's law. But forget about that, which is positive, which is negative. One thing is sure, one point will be positive, the other point will be negative. So here also in the conductor, sorry, here also in the magnetic core, one point you may have positive, the other point you may have negative. There is a possibility because EMF induced in the sense, what does that mean? EMF is nothing but the potential difference. So it will create a potential difference between 2 points in the magnetic core. Let me take this point as A and let me take this point as B. So a point A has higher potential, point B has lower potential. This is the EMF. Why the EMF is induced? Because of the Faraday's law. Faraday's law is not because of the Faraday's law. Faraday says this thing that variable flux, when it is linking a conductor, EMF will be induced. So I will say A is higher potential, B is lower potential. So everyone know this thing. When there is a potential difference between 2 points A and B, then what will happen to the current? Current flows from higher potential to the lower potential. So I will draw the current path now. So current will flow here and it makes a closed path. So now you see current is making the closed path. So likewise you find out the current loops like this in the magnetic core. Current loops you will find out in the magnetic core. So these currents which are flowing, they are called as eddy currents. Eddy currents. So the currents which flow in the magnetic core are called eddy currents. First of all, why the current is flowing in the magnetic core? Because EMF is induced in the magnetic core. Why EMF is in the magnetic core? Because variable flux is linking to the magnetic core. How comes the variable flux here? Because the source voltage is a sinusoidal voltage. As the source voltage is sinusoidal voltage, the primary current is also sinusoidal. As the primary current is sinusoidal, the flux is also sinusoidal. So as the sinusoidal flux is flowing through the magnetic core, and the magnetic core is also a conductor, of course it's a bad conductor. So EMF will be induced as per Faraday's law. That EMF will produce current in the magnetic core. Of course, these currents are very small currents. They are not large currents. They are very small currents. And those currents, they circulate like this. They make a closed path between plus and minus like this. And those currents, we call it as eddy currents. And everyone knows this thing that when some current is flowing in any conductor, then any conductor or any material, if some current is flowing, then that current will produce a power loss, that is I square R loss. Okay, any current is flowing in any material, always remember that current will produce a power loss, depends upon its resistance value I square R. So that power loss you call it as eddy current loss. So eddy current losses are because of the eddy currents in the magnetic core. So this is another power loss you will find out in the magnetic core. And this power loss you don't find out in case of the air. Why? Because air is a insulator compared with the magnetic core. So what do you find out here? Compared with the air core? Compared with the air core, two extra power losses have come. What are the two extra power losses? Hysteresis loss is one power loss. Second loss is eddy current loss. So these two losses you will find out in the magnetic core, whereas these two losses are absent in the air core. This is the conclusion I will say. Okay,